Single mother cleaner brought her twins to work. One runs to hug the millionaire, calling him daddy. At 11:47 p.m. on the 42nd floor of Patel Industries, a 5-year-old girl in worn-out sneakers ran toward a man she had never met. She wrapped her small arms around his legs, and she whispered 2 words that would unravel 6 years of secrets, silence, and a love story that was never supposed to exist. Daddy, I found you. The man froze. His name was James Patel. He was worth $2.3 billion. He had closed deals with world leaders. He had never once been rendered completely speechless. Until now. A woman came running down the hallway. Her cleaning uniform was slightly too big. Her hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail. Her face held the kind of exhaustion that comes from years of carrying weight alone. Jasmine, no. I am so sorry, sir. She does not understand. She is confused. Let me just take her end. The man held up his hand. His voice came out strange, hoarse, like someone had reached into his chest and squeezed. How old is she? The woman stopped. Something flickered across her face. Recognition, then fear, then something that looked a lot like 6 years of buried rage trying to claw its way to the surface. Why would you ask that? How old is she? 5. She will be 6 in April. The man closed his eyes. His lips moved silently, counting backward, counting months, counting years, and when he opened his eyes again, they were wet. April 15th. That is her birthday, is it not? The woman's blood turned to ice. How could you possibly know that? Because I have never forgotten that date. I have never forgotten what happened 9 months before it. And I have never forgotten the woman I left in a hotel room in Mumbai with nothing but a note and the worst mistake I have ever made. The little girl tugged on his sleeve. She looked up at him with eyes that matched his own. Dark, intense, certain. I told you, Mama. I told you I saw him in my dream. I knew he was real. I knew you would find us, Daddy. The woman's voice cracked. You do not get to call him that. But he is. He is my daddy. I know it. I have always known it. And standing in that marble hallway, surrounded by artwork worth more than most people's houses, 3 people stared at each other across a canyon of time, secrets, and choices that could never be undone. The woman's name was Patricia Moreno. 6 years ago, she had been someone else entirely. Someone with a future. Someone with degrees on her wall and respect in her field, and the kind of confidence that comes from knowing exactly where your life is heading. Now she cleaned floors at midnight in buildings where people walked past her like she was furniture. And the man who had destroyed everything she thought she knew about love, about trust, about herself, he was standing right in front of her, asking about his children. Let me tell you how they got here. Let me tell you what happened in the 6 years between a hotel room in Mumbai and a hallway in New York. Let me tell you about a woman who learned to survive when survival seemed impossible. And let me tell you about a man who spent 6 years running from the best thing that ever happened to him. This is their story. Patricia Moreno woke up at 5:17 a.m. every single day. Not because she wanted to, because she had to. The alarm on her phone was set to the lowest volume possible, just loud enough to pull her from whatever exhausted half-sleep she had managed. Not loud enough to wake the twins in the next room. She lay there for exactly 30 seconds. 30 seconds of staring at the water stain on her ceiling. 30 seconds of cataloging every ache in her body. 30 seconds of reminding herself why she had to get up. Jason, Jasmine, Jason, Jasmine. Their names were her morning prayer, her reason for swinging her legs over the side of the bed, her reason for ignoring the way her back protested and her knees creaked and her eyes burned from never getting enough sleep. The apartment was small, 2 bedrooms that were really 1 bedroom and a converted closet, a kitchen that doubled as a dining room, a bathroom where the hot water worked maybe 3 days out of 7. But it was theirs. It was paid for. It was home. Patricia moved through her morning routine with the efficiency of someone who had eliminated every unnecessary second. Shower in 4 minutes. Dress in 2. Coffee made while packing lunches. Lunches packed while reviewing the day's schedule in her head. 6:30. Wake the twins. 7. Breakfast. 7:30. Walk to school. 8. First job. Cleaning the medical offices on 4th Street. 12. Second job. Data entry at the temp agency. 5. Pick up twins from after-school program. 6. Dinner, homework, baths. 8:30. Bedtime for children. 9. Leave for night shift. 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Cleaning the executive floors at Patel Industries. This was her life. Every single day. No weekends. No vacations. No breaks. She used to be someone else. Patricia tried not to think about that too often. It did not help anything. It did not pay the electric bill or buy groceries or fix the leak under the sink that she had been ignoring for 3 months. But sometimes, usually in the 30 seconds before she got out of bed, she remembered. Dr. Patricia Moreno, Ph.D. in biochemistry from Stanford, lead researcher at NextGen Medical, published in 17 peer-reviewed journals before the age of 30. Invited to speak at international conferences. Respected. Accomplished. Someone. That woman felt like a character in a book she had read a long time ago. Interesting, but not quite real. Not connected to the woman who now scrubbed toilets and emptied trash cans and moved through the world like a ghost. The fall had been fast. Brutal. Complete. NextGen Medical collapsed 8 weeks after she found out she was pregnant. Fraud investigation. Frozen assets. Criminal charges against executives she had trusted. Her job vanished overnight. Her savings disappeared into legal fees and unpaid bills. Her apartment lease ended, and she could not afford to renew it. She was pregnant with twins, alone, unemployed, and the only person who might have helped her had disappeared without a trace. She did not know his last name. He had only told her his first. James. Just James. A man at a conference who had argued with her about ethics and then kissed her like she was the only person in the world. She had tried to find him. God, how she had tried. But James, with no last name and a vague reference to a family business, was impossible to locate. He could have been anyone. He could have been no one. So she stopped looking. She focused on surviving. The twins arrived 8 weeks early. Tiny and fragile and absolutely perfect. Patricia held them in the NICU and made promises she was not sure she could keep. I will never let you go hungry. I will never let you feel unloved. I will never let you know what it feels like to be abandoned. She kept those promises. Every single day for 5 years. Even when keeping them meant sacrificing everything else. Mama. Jasmine's voice floated down the hallway. Soft and dreamy, the way she always sounded when she first woke up. In here, baby. Getting your breakfast ready. The little girl appeared in the kitchen doorway. Dark hair tangled from sleep. Eyes still half closed. Clutching the stuffed purple dragon she had slept with since she was 2. I had the dream again. Patricia's hands stilled on the sandwich she was making. What dream, sweetheart? The one with Daddy. Patricia closed her eyes. This was not new. Jasmine had been talking about her father for months. Not in the way most children did, asking questions about who he was and where he had gone. But in this strange certain way, as if she knew things she could not possibly know. Jasmine, we have talked about this. I know. You said he went away before we were born. You said he did not know about us. But Mama, in my dream, he finds us. He finds us and he stays and we build sandcastles together. That is just a dream, baby. Dreams are not real. Jasmine shook her head with the stubborn certainty that only a 5-year-old could muster. This one is real. I know it is. He is out there, Mama, and he is looking for us. He just does not know where we are yet. Patricia did not have the energy to argue. She finished the sandwich, cut it diagonally the way Jasmine liked, and set it on the table. Eat your breakfast. Wake your brother. We need to leave in 20 minutes. Jasmine padded off toward the room she shared with Jason, still clutching her dragon. Patricia leaned against the counter and let herself have one moment of weakness. She thought about him sometimes, more often than she wanted to admit. The man with no last name who had made her feel like maybe she was not as alone as she had always believed. But thinking about him changed nothing. He was gone. He had chosen to leave, and she had chosen to survive without him. That was the end of that story. Or so she thought. Jason appeared in the kitchen exactly 3 minutes later. Unlike his sister, he was already fully awake, alert, analyzing. He had always been like this. Even as a baby, he had watched the world with an intensity that made strangers uncomfortable. He noticed everything, missed nothing, and trusted almost no one. Mama, you look tired. I am fine, baby. You always say that, even when it is not true. Patricia smiled despite herself. Her son was too observant for his own good, too protective for a 5-year-old. He had appointed himself the man of the house before he was old enough to understand what that meant. I will be fine. That is the more accurate statement. Is there a difference? Sometimes, sweetheart. Sometimes there is a very big difference. They ate breakfast together. The twins argued about whose turn it was to feed the imaginary pet Jasmine had invented. Patricia drank her coffee and pretended she was not counting the hours until she could sleep again. The walk to school was 4 blocks. Patricia held both their hands, even though Jason insisted he was too old for hand-holding. She watched them disappear through the front doors, 2 small figures in a sea of children, and she said the same silent prayer she said every morning. Keep them safe. Keep them healthy. Keep them believing the world is good, even when it is not. Then she went to work. The medical offices on 4th Street were easy, routine. Patricia had been cleaning them for 2 years. She knew which doctors left their trash cans overflowing, and which ones tidied their own desks. She knew which exam rooms got used most often and which ones gathered dust. She moved through the building like a machine. Efficient, invisible. That was the key to being a good cleaner. Being invisible. The temp agency job was harder. Sitting at a computer for 4 hours, entering data that meant nothing, surrounded by people who looked through her like she was not there. She used to run meetings. She used to present research to rooms full of brilliant people who listened when she spoke. Now she typed numbers into spreadsheets and waited for her shift to end. At 5, she picked up the twins from their after-school program. They talked over each other the whole walk home. Jason had learned about dinosaurs. Jasmine had made a painting. There was drama at lunch involving spilled juice and hurt feelings and complicated 5-year-old politics. Patricia listened to all of it. This was the part of her day she lived for. These 2 humans she had made. These 2 people who looked at her like she was the center of the universe. Dinner was macaroni and cheese from a box, the cheap kind, but Patricia had learned to make it taste better with extra butter and a little bit of the fancy cheese she saved for special occasions. The children did not know they were poor. Patricia had made sure of that. Their clothes were second-hand but clean. Their toys were limited but loved. Their apartment was small but decorated with their artwork and filled with books from the library. They knew they did not have as much as some of their classmates, but they did not know how close to the edge their mother walked every single month. Homework was reading practice and simple addition. Bath time was splashing and laughter and Jasmine's elaborate games involving her entire collection of rubber ducks. Bedtime was stories and songs and the ritual they had developed over years of nights just like this. Good night, Mama. Jasmine's arms wrapped around Patricia's neck. I love you to the moon and back. I love you to the moon and back and around again. Good night, Mama. Jason was more reserved with his affection, but his hand found hers and squeezed. Thank you for taking care of us. Always, baby. Always. She stood in their doorway for a long moment after they fell asleep, watching their chests rise and fall, counting their breaths, memorizing the peace on their faces. These were the moments that made everything worth it. Every aching muscle, every humiliating job, every sacrifice she had made and would continue to make. They were worth it. They would always be worth it. At 9 p.m., Patricia's phone buzzed. Elena, the babysitter, the college student who lived downstairs and watched the twins on the nights Patricia worked at Patel Industries. Hi, Patricia. I am so sorry to do this to you, but I am really sick. Fever of 102. I cannot watch the kids tonight. Patricia's stomach dropped. Are you sure? Maybe you could just sleep on the couch while they sleep. I have been throwing up all day. I really cannot. I am so sorry. I know this puts you in a bad spot. Patricia stared at the message. Her mind raced through options. Her mother was 3 states away, and they had not spoken in 2 years. Not since Patricia refused to give the twins up for adoption like her mother suggested. There was no family nearby. No friends either, really. The other parents at the twins' school were acquaintances at best. She could not call them at 9 p.m. and ask them to watch her children. She could call in sick, but she had already called in sick twice this month when Jason had the flu. One more absence and she would lose the job. She knew this because her supervisor had told her directly, bluntly, without apology. The night shift at Patel Industries paid better than her other jobs combined. Losing it would mean losing the apartment. Losing the apartment would mean the shelter. The shelter would mean social workers asking questions and documents being filed, and the possibility, however small, of losing the only 2 people in the world who mattered to her. She could not lose this job, which left one option. 20 minutes later, Patricia was walking through the lobby of Patel Industries with a twin on each side. They were dressed in their pajamas under their coats. She had packed their tablets, their blankets, a bag of snacks she could not really afford. They were sleepy and confused but obedient. They knew when Mama was stressed. They knew when to be quiet. "You have to stay invisible," Patricia whispered as they rode the elevator up. "You have to be absolutely silent. No one can know you are here. If anyone asks, you are my—" She trailed off. Her what? She could not think of a believable lie. "We will be invisible, Mama." Jasmine squeezed her hand. "Like ghosts, not ghosts. People can believe in ghosts. You have to be like air, like you do not exist at all." Jason nodded seriously. "We understand. We will not let you down." The executive floor at night was a different world. During the day, it apparently buzzed with assistants and executives and the machinery of extreme wealth. Patricia had heard the other cleaners talk about it. The famous people who came through, the deals worth millions, the power that pulsed through these halls. At night it was silent, empty, a museum of success that Patricia was allowed to visit only to clean up after its inhabitants. She had never been assigned to this floor before. The regular cleaner was on vacation. Patricia had been asked to fill in just for tonight. More money, her supervisor had said. Better tip potential. Some of these executives leave cash for the cleaning staff. Patricia had not mentioned that she would be bringing her children. There had not seemed like a good time to bring it up. She found a small alcove near the reception desk, a corner with a leather couch that probably cost more than 3 months of her rent. She arranged the twins there with their blankets and their tablets and their snacks. "You stay here. You do not move. You do not make noise. I will check on you every 15 minutes. If you need me, just wave, and I will see you. Do you understand?" "Yes, Mama." Patricia kissed their foreheads and picked up her cleaning supplies. She started at the far end of the floor, working her way toward the corner office. The big one. The one with the nameplate that read James Patel, CEO. She had seen his name before, of course. On the building. On the press releases in the break room. On the magazines that sometimes ended up in the recycling bins she emptied. She had never made the connection. Why would she? James was a common name. And the man she had known for one night 6 years ago had been nothing like a billionaire. He had argued with her about ethics. He had laughed at her jokes. He had looked at her like she was the most interesting person he had ever met. He had left her with a note that said, "I am sorry. This was a mistake." Billionaires did not write notes like that. Billionaires did not disappear into the night. Billionaires did not leave pregnant women alone to figure out how to survive. Or maybe they did. Patricia pushed open the door to the corner office and flipped on the light. The room was enormous. A wall of windows overlooking the city. A desk that was probably made of wood from some endangered forest. Bookshelves filled with leather-bound volumes that had probably never been read. And photos. Everywhere photos. Patricia moved through the room mechanically, dusting, straightening, trying not to look too closely at the evidence of a life so different from her own. But she could not help it. One photo caught her eye. A man standing in front of a building in what looked like India. He was younger in the photo, thinner. His smile was different somehow, less guarded. Patricia picked it up. Her hands started to shake. Because the man in the photo was the man from Mumbai. The man with no last name. The man who had held her face in his hands and told her she was not like anyone he had ever met. The man whose children were sitting on a couch 50 feet away, eating goldfish crackers and watching cartoons on tablets with cracked screens. No. Patricia set the photo down, stepped back, tried to breathe. No, 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 this could not be happening. This could not be real. She was tired. She was seeing things. She was conflating memories because she was exhausted and stressed, and she picked up the photo again. It was him. It was undeniably, unmistakably him. The father of her children was James Patel, billionaire, CEO, the man who owned the building she cleaned at midnight for minimum wage. Patricia sank into one of the expensive chairs and let the photo fall from her fingers. 6 years. 6 years of wondering where he was, who he was, whether he ever thought about her at all. And he had been here, 42 floors above her, sitting in an office she now cleaned, living a life of unimaginable wealth while she scraped together pennies to keep their children fed. Their children. Did he know? Did he suspect? Did he have any idea that the woman who cleaned his office had once shared his bed and now shared his DNA with two perfect, impossible children? Of course not. How could he? She was invisible. She had always been invisible. But now she knew, and she had no idea what to do with that knowledge. Patricia stood up. She needed to finish her work. She needed to get the children and go home. She needed to think about this when she was not standing in the office of a man who had abandoned her without even knowing what he was abandoning. She was almost to the door when she heard it. A small voice, carrying through the silence of the empty floor. "Daddy." Patricia ran. She found Jasmine in the hallway, outside a conference room. The conference room Patricia had not realized was occupied. The conference room where apparently the CEO of Patel Industries had been working late on documents that were spread across the massive table. The conference room where James Patel now stood frozen, staring at the small girl who had her arms wrapped around his legs. Patricia grabbed her daughter. "Jasmine, no. I am so sorry, sir." "She does not. I did not know anyone was." The words died in her throat. Because he was looking at her, really looking at her. Not through her like everyone else did, but at her, into her. And she watched the recognition dawn on his face like a sunrise over the city behind him. Patricia, her name in his voice, after 6 years of silence. "Hello, James." He stepped forward, then stopped. His eyes moved from her face to Jasmine and back again, calculating, counting, understanding something that had just rearranged his entire universe. "She is." "Yes. And there are 2 twins. Jason is in the alcove by reception." James sat down heavily on the edge of the conference table. For a long moment, he said nothing. He just stared at Jasmine, who stared back at him with the unnerving certainty that had characterized her entire short life. "I told Mama I would find you." Jasmine's voice was matter-of-fact. "I told her you were looking for us. I saw you in my dream. You were building sandcastles with us, and you were happy." James made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. It was hard to tell. "Sandcastles. Yes, you are good at them. In my dream, you are very good at them." Patricia pulled Jasmine behind her. Protective, shielding. Every instinct she had developed over 5 years of single motherhood screaming at her to grab her children and run. "We should go." "Wait." James stood up again. "Please, wait." "Why?" "Because I did not know. You have to believe me." "Patricia, I did not know." Patricia's laugh was bitter. "You did not know. You left. You disappeared. You left a note that said I was a mistake. What exactly did you expect to happen next?" "I was scared. I was a coward. I was. You were rich. You were powerful. You were capable of finding anyone you wanted to find, but you chose not to, because I was a mistake. Is that not what you wrote?" James flinched like she had hit him. "Those words have haunted me every day since." "Poor you. Haunted by words while I was haunted by wondering how I was going to feed our children. Our children." He said the words like they were new, foreign, like he was trying them on for size. "We have children. I have children. No, I have children. You have nothing. You are nothing to them." Jasmine tugged on Patricia's uniform. "Mama, do not be mean to him. He did not know. You always told us he did not know." Patricia closed her eyes. Her daughter's simple logic cutting through 6 years of carefully constructed walls. "That is different, baby." "How is it different? You said he would have wanted us if he knew. You said he would have been a good daddy if he had the chance. Now he has the chance." Jasmine looked up at James with those dark eyes so like his own. "Right, Daddy. Now you have the chance." The silence stretched like a wire pulled too tight. James crouched down so he was at Jasmine's level. Patricia tensed, ready to intervene, but he made no move to touch the child. He just looked at her with an expression that held more emotion than Patricia had seen on any face in years. "What is your name?" "Jasmine. Jasmine Maria Moreno, and my brother is Jason Marcus Moreno. Mama named us after her grandparents. They were good people," she says. "They would have loved us. I am sure they would have." "What is your name?" Jasmine asked. "Your whole name. Mama does not know it. She only knew you were James. James Patel. My name is James Patel." Jasmine considered this. "That is a good name. I like it. Maybe I can have it too someday. Jasmine Patel. That sounds nice. Jasmine. Patricia's voice held a warning. What, Mama? I am just saying, it sounds nice. James stood back up. His eyes met Patricia's across their daughter's head. I want to know them. I want to know everything I missed. You want. Patricia cut him off. That is the problem. You wanted to leave. You wanted to forget. You wanted your easy life with no complications. And now you want back in. But this is not about what you want, James. This has never been about what you want. Then what is it about? It is about them. It is about two children who have spent their entire lives without a father, who have learned to be fine without you, who do not need you appearing out of nowhere and confusing everything. James took a step forward. His voice dropped. Do they ask about me? The question hit Patricia in the chest. Jasmine does. Every day. She has been dreaming about you for months. She told me she would find you. She was so certain that I almost started to believe it myself. And Jason stopped asking when he was 3. He decided you were not worth wondering about. He decided we were enough without you. And you, James asked quietly, what did you decide? Patricia was silent for a long moment. I decided that surviving was more important than answers. I decided that building a life for them was more important than grieving the life I thought we might have. I decided that you made your choice when you left that hotel room and I would make mine by moving forward. But now nothing. Now you know. Now I know. But nothing has to change. Everything has changed. I have children, Patricia. I have 2 children who exist in the world, and I did not know about them. How can you expect me to just walk away? Patricia finished. Is that not what you are good at? The words hung in the air between them. Jasmine looked from one adult to the other, her small face troubled. Mama, please do not be so angry. I am not angry, baby. Yes, you are. You are doing the thing with your jaw. You always do it when you are really, really angry but trying not to show it. Patricia almost laughed. Almost. Her daughter's observation was so accurate, it cut through the tension like a knife. Okay, maybe I am a little angry. More than a little. Jason's voice came from behind them. Patricia spun around. Her son stood at the entrance to the conference room, his arms crossed, his face skeptical. I woke up and you were not there, so I came looking. I told you to stay put, and I heard yelling. Jason's eyes moved to James. You are the man from the picture, the one in the fancy office. James blinked. You saw my office, when Mama was not looking. I wanted to see where the fancy people work. You have a lot of pictures. There is one of you in front of a building with weird architecture. The supports are inefficient. James stared at the boy who had inherited his analytical mind without ever knowing him. You know about architecture. I know about lots of things. I like how buildings work, how they stand up instead of falling down. Structural engineering, James said slowly. That was my first love. Before business, before all of this. Jason considered this information. If you like building so much, why do you sit in an office all day? Because sometimes we get trapped by expectations, by what people think we should be instead of what we want to be. That sounds like an excuse. James smiled. It was small, tired, but genuine. You sound like your mother. Is that bad? No. That is probably the best thing anyone has ever said to me. Patricia watched this exchange with growing unease. Her son, who trusted no one, who questioned everything, was having an actual conversation with the man who had abandoned them. This was not how this was supposed to go. We need to leave. No, Jason said it firmly. We need to stay and talk. Patricia stared at her son. Excuse me. You always tell us that running away does not solve problems, that we have to face hard things even when we do not want to. This is a hard thing, but running away will not help. Patricia opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Since when did you become the parent? Since you needed someone to remind you of your own rules. James made that sound again, half laugh, half sob. He really is your child. Patricia sighed. She looked at the twins, looked at James, looked at the conference room that cost more than everything she owned combined. Fine, we will talk, but not here, and not tonight. I need time to think. I need time to process, Jason supplied. That is what you always say when we overwhelm you. I am going to stop teaching you things. You are too smart. James stepped forward. When can we talk? Patricia thought about her schedule. The impossible juggle of jobs and children and survival. Saturday, the park on Willow Street. Noon. You can meet them properly, in daylight, like normal people. I will be there. You will be there, Patricia repeated. Like you were there 6 years ago. Like you were there for every doctor appointment and sleepless night and moment when I wondered if I was going to make it. James absorbed the blow without flinching. I know I cannot change the past, but I would like to be part of the future, if you will let me try. Patricia gathered her children, one in each hand, her anchors, her reasons for everything. Saturday, noon. Do not be late. She walked out of the conference room without looking back, but she heard his voice follow her down the hallway. Quiet, almost to himself. I will not waste this chance. I promise. Patricia kept walking. Promises meant nothing. Only actions mattered, and she would believe his actions when she saw them. If you are still watching this, if you have stayed with Patricia through this moment, then I need to speak to you directly. This is not just a story. This is a question about trust, about second chances, about whether the people who hurt us can ever really become the people we need them to be. Patricia spent 6 years building a life. She did it alone. She did it through exhaustion and humiliation and the kind of sacrifice that most people never have to understand. She did not need James Patel. She proved that every single day. But now he knows. Now he wants in. And she has to decide whether protecting herself is the same as protecting her children. Before I tell you what happens next, I need you to do something for me. If you have ever been in Patricia's position, if you have ever had to choose between trust and safety, hit that like button right now. Let me know I am not telling this story into the void. If you want to see whether James can prove himself, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. Because this story is far from over, and if you have your own story of survival, of second chances, of choosing to keep going when giving up seemed easier, leave it in the comments. I read every single one. Now let me tell you what happened on Saturday. Patricia did not sleep for the next 3 days. She went through the motions, the jobs, the routines, the careful choreography of survival, but her mind was somewhere else entirely. James Patel, the man she had loved for one impossible night, was one of the richest people in the country. He owned the building she cleaned. He sat in a corner office while she scrubbed floors 40 stories below. And he was the father of her children. She should have recognized him. Looking back, the clues were there. The expensive watch he had tried to hide, the way he had talked about family obligations and expectations, the careful way he had avoided giving her his last name. But she had been young, idealistic, so focused on the connection they shared that she had not looked for the warning signs. Now she saw them everywhere. She researched him obsessively during her lunch breaks. James Patel, Princeton educated, Harvard MBA, took over his father's company at 28 after the elder Patel died of a heart attack, expanded the business from regional to global, made his first billion by 32. There were photos of him at charity galas, magazine covers celebrating his success, interviews where he talked about innovation and disruption, and all the buzzwords that rich people use to describe getting richer. There were also photos of him with women, beautiful women in expensive dresses at parties Patricia could not even imagine attending. A rumored engagement 2 years ago that had quietly disappeared from the headlines. He had lived an entire life while she was surviving. He had dated models while she rationed groceries. He had built an empire while she built calluses. The anger that had sustained her in that conference room began to harden into something colder, sharper. This was not just about a man who had left. This was about a man who had left and thrived while she barely kept her head above water. She almost canceled Saturday 3 times. The first time was Tuesday night, when she was so tired she could barely see straight and the thought of having to be civil to James Patel felt physically impossible. The second time was Thursday morning, when Jason asked what would happen if James was mean to them and Patricia realized she had no good answer. The third time was Friday at midnight, when she was cleaning his office again and she saw a new photo on his desk. Him with the twins from 3 days ago. Jasmine hugging his leg. Jason standing slightly apart, arms crossed. He had already framed it. He had already put it where he could see it every day. Patricia stared at that photo for a long time. She did not cancel. Saturday arrived cold and gray. The kind of November day that made Patricia want to stay inside with blankets and hot chocolate and her children pressed against her sides. Instead, she bundled the twins into their warmest coats and walked to the park on Willow Street. He was already there, standing by the entrance, wearing jeans and a sweater instead of a suit, looking more like the man she remembered from Mumbai than the billionaire from the magazine covers. He saw them coming and straightened. Nervous, Patricia realized with surprise. He was nervous. Good, he should be. Jasmine broke away from Patricia's hand and ran toward him. Patricia let her go. She had learned over the past few days that trying to control Jasmine's attachment to her father was pointless. The girl had made up her mind. "Hi, Daddy." Jasmine wrapped herself around his legs again, apparently her new favorite greeting. "I wore my purple coat because purple is my favorite color, and I wanted you to know that." James crouched down. "Purple is an excellent color. I actually brought you something purple, if that is okay with your mom." He looked up at Patricia, asking permission, the way he should have asked permission 6 years ago before disappearing from her life. "What is it?" James pulled a small wrapped package from his pocket. "It is not expensive. I did not want you to think I was trying to buy them, but when I saw it, I thought of what she said. About the dreams." Jasmine opened the package to reveal a small stuffed dragon, purple, with sparkling eyes and soft wings. "He is perfect," Jasmine breathed. "Thank you, Daddy. His name is going to be James Jr." Patricia almost laughed, despite herself. "James Jr., because he is named after my daddy, like I am named after my great-grandmother." James looked like he might cry. "That is a very good name." "I know." Jason had hung back, standing beside Patricia with his arms crossed, watching, evaluating. Patricia recognized the expression. He was giving James enough rope to hang himself. "I brought you something too." James reached into his other pocket. "Again, not expensive, but your mom mentioned you like buildings." He handed Jason a book. Patricia craned her neck to see the title, A History of Architecture for Young Minds. Jason took it, examined the cover, flipped through a few pages. "The chapter on Gothic cathedrals is wrong. I am sorry. The flying buttresses are described as decorative. They are structural. Anyone who knows anything about buildings knows that." James nodded seriously. "You are absolutely right. That is a common misconception that even some adults do not understand." Jason looked at him for a long moment. "At least you know you are wrong." He walked toward the playground, book tucked under his arm, without another word. Patricia watched him go. "That is as close to approval as you are going to get. I will take it." James stood up, Jasmine still attached to his hand. "Patricia, can we talk?" "Yes, that is why we are here." They found a bench where they could watch both children. Jasmine joined her brother at the climbing structure, her new dragon tucked carefully into her coat pocket. Jason was already explaining to her why the playground equipment was structurally sound. Patricia sat at one end of the bench. James sat at the other, 3 feet of space between them that felt like miles. "I have questions," Patricia said. "Ask me anything." "Why did you leave?" James was quiet for a moment. "Fear. That is the honest answer. I was supposed to be at that conference for work, but I was really there to escape. My father had just told me he was dying. He had cancer. 18 months, the doctors said. Maybe less." Patricia felt something shift in her chest. She had not known that. "I was supposed to take over the company, marry the woman my family had chosen, become the person everyone expected me to be. And instead, I met you. And that was bad. That was terrifying. Because you made me question everything. You made me want things I was not supposed to want. A life that was mine instead of the one planned for me. And I was not ready to want those things. I was not brave enough to choose them. So, you left. So I left. And I told myself, it was for your own good. That you deserved better than a man who was about to be swallowed by responsibility and expectation. That walking away was somehow noble. But really I was a coward. I was scared of what you made me feel. I was scared of what choosing you would cost me. And I chose the easy path instead of the right one. The easy path," Patricia repeated. "Building a billion-dollar empire while I cleaned toilets to feed your children." James flinched. I know what you sacrificed, what you endured. I have spent the last 3 days researching what happened to NextGen. What happened to you afterward?" And the first, you researched me. I needed to understand. I needed to know what I had done, what my cowardice had cost. And what did you find? James turned to look at her directly. I found the strongest person I have ever encountered. Someone who lost everything and rebuilt from nothing. Someone who raised 2 incredible children completely alone. Someone who should have given up 100 times but never did. Patricia looked away. She did not know how to receive praise for surviving. It had never felt like an achievement, just necessity. I did not have a choice. Everyone has choices. You made good ones. I made the only ones I could. James was quiet for a moment. Can I tell you something? Something I have never told anyone. Patricia shrugged. We are apparently telling truths today. My father died 18 months after that conference, just like the doctors predicted. I took over the company. I married the woman I was supposed to marry. And I was miserable every single day. Married. It lasted 3 years. She wanted the money. I wanted to check off a box on my family's expectations list. Neither of us wanted each other. Patricia absorbed this. What happened? She left. For someone richer, ironically, I was relieved. I threw myself into work because it was the only thing that made me feel anything at all, and I told myself I was successful. I told myself I had everything anyone could want. But I thought about you every single day. I wondered where you were, whether you were happy, whether you ever thought about me. I almost hired someone to find you 100 times. Why did you not? Because I was scared of what I would find. That you had moved on. That you were happy without me. That my leaving was the best thing that ever happened to you. Patricia laughed. It was not a kind sound. Your leaving was the worst thing that ever happened to me. I know that now. No. Patricia turned to face him. You do not know. You cannot know. You were not there when I found out I was pregnant and had no idea how to reach you. You were not there when NextGen collapsed and I lost my job and my apartment in the same month. You were not there when I gave birth to 2 premature babies alone in a hospital I could barely afford. James opened his mouth. Patricia held up her hand. You were not there for the nights I did not sleep because I was terrified they would stop breathing. You were not there when I sold my engagement ring from a relationship before you because I needed formula money. You were not there when I applied for food stamps for the first time and cried in the parking lot afterward because I never thought that would be my life. James looked like he was absorbing physical blows. You were not there when Jason took his first steps or said his first word or figured out how to count to 100. You were not there when Jasmine learned to read or started having those dreams about you or asked me why all the other kids had daddies and she did not. Patricia, you were not there, James, for any of it. And I survived anyway. I survived without your money and your buildings and your billion-dollar company. I survived because I had to. Because they needed me to. Because giving up was not an option. She was breathing hard now. Years of unexpressed grief and anger spilling out. So do not tell me you thought about me. Do not tell me you almost looked for me. Do not tell me you were scared. I was scared too. Every single day. But I showed up anyway. For them. Every single day. James sat in silence for a long moment. His eyes were wet. You are right. I do not know what you went through. I cannot know. And nothing I say will change the past. But, Patricia. He reached toward her, then stopped himself. Respecting her space. I am here now. I know about them now. And I am asking you to let me try. Not because I deserve it. I do not deserve anything from you. But because they deserve a father who shows up. They deserve the chance to know me, even if I do not deserve the chance to know them. Patricia watched her children playing. Jason was now explaining something to Jasmine with elaborate hand gestures. Jasmine was nodding along, her purple dragon clutched in one hand. She thought about all the times Jason had asked about his father, then stopped asking. All the times Jasmine had dreamed about a man she had never met. All the times Patricia had looked at her children and seen James in their eyes, their expressions, their stubborn certainty. She thought about what it would mean to share them, to let someone else into the life she had protected so fiercely. She thought about what it would mean if he left again. I have rules. James straightened. Anything. Whatever you need. You show up when you say you will. No exceptions. No excuses. No rescheduling because of business meetings. I promise. You do not buy their love. No expensive gifts. No trips to exotic locations. No trying to be the fun parent while I am the one who enforces bedtimes and homework. I understand. You do not make promises you cannot keep. If you tell them you will be somewhere, you are there. If you tell them you will do something, you do it. They have already learned that adults lie. I will not have them learn it again from you. I will never lie to them. And you do not hurt them. Patricia's voice hardened. I do not mean physically. I mean you do not let them love you and then disappear. You do not become important to them and then decide fatherhood is inconvenient. You do not break their hearts the way you broke mine. James held her gaze. I will not hurt them. And, Patricia, I will not hurt you either. Not again. Patricia looked away. I am not worried about me. I already know how to survive you. The words hung between them, heavy with history. After a moment, James spoke again. How do we start? Patricia watched Jasmine running toward them, Dragon flying behind her. You start by showing up, again and again, until they trust you, until I trust you, until everyone believes that this time is different. And if it takes years, then it takes years. Trust is not a destination. It is a daily choice. You choose it over and over until it becomes real. Jasmine arrived at the bench, breathless and happy. Daddy, come push me on the swings. Please, please, please. James looked at Patricia. She nodded once. He stood, took Jasmine's hand, and walked toward the swings. Patricia watched them go. Her daughter, her daughter's father, two people who belonged to each other in ways that Patricia could not control. Jason appeared beside her, sitting down on the bench James had vacated. You told him yes. I told him he could try. Is that smart? I do not know. But he is their father. They have a right to know him. What if he leaves again? Patricia put her arm around her son. Then we will survive again. We are good at surviving. I do not want to survive, Jason said quietly. I want to just live, like normal kids. Patricia pulled him closer. I know, baby. I know. They sat together, watching James push Jasmine on the swing. Higher and higher. Her laughter carrying across the cold November air like a promise. Or maybe like a prayer. But before we continue, I need something from you. What do you think? Can James prove himself? Should Patricia give him the opportunity? Or has he already done too much damage to ever truly repair? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and your perspectives shape how I tell these stories. And if you want to see what happens next, subscribe to Mr. Dawson Stories and hit that notification bell. The weeks after that first Saturday in the park moved slowly. Each day felt like a test. Each interaction felt like evidence being gathered for a verdict that had not yet been reached. James showed up. That was the first thing Patricia noticed. He showed up when he said he would. Not 5 minutes late. Not with excuses about traffic or meetings that ran long. He showed up early. He showed up prepared. He showed up like a man who understood that every moment was an audition for a role he desperately wanted to play. The second Saturday, he took the twins to the Natural History Museum. Patricia came along, watching from a careful distance as James followed Jason through the dinosaur exhibit and answered Jasmine's endless questions about why the big skeleton did not fall down. The third Saturday, they went to the aquarium. Jasmine pressed her face against the glass and talked to the fish like they could understand her. Jason explained the physics of water pressure to anyone who would listen. James bought them stuffed animals from the gift shop. Small ones, inexpensive, following Patricia's rules. The fourth Saturday, it rained. James showed up at Patricia's apartment with board games and the ingredients for homemade pizza. He let the twins choose the toppings. He did not complain when Jasmine insisted on putting gummy bears on her half. By the fifth Saturday, something had shifted. Patricia found herself looking forward to his arrival. Not for herself, for the children. For the way Jason's skepticism was slowly softening into something that looked almost like acceptance. For the way Jasmine glowed in his presence like a flower finally getting sunlight. But also, if she was honest, for herself. She had forgotten what it felt like to have help, to have someone else make decisions, to have someone else carry part of the weight. She did not trust it. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But she noticed it. Mama, Jason said one evening after James had left. He is different than I thought he would be. Patricia looked up from the dishes she was washing. Different how? I thought he would be like the dads on TV, the ones who are too busy and always breaking promises, but he is not like that. It has only been a month, baby. People can be good for a month. I know. Jason's voice was careful. But I am watching him. And so far, he is doing okay. From Jason, that was practically a declaration of love. Patricia dried her hands and sat down across from her son. How do you feel about him? Jason considered the question seriously, the way he considered everything. I feel confused. I spent my whole life not having a dad. I learned how to not need one. And now he is here and he wants to be one, and I do not know what to do with that. You do not have to do anything with it. You just have to let yourself feel whatever you feel. What if I feel angry? That is okay. What if I feel happy? That is okay too. What if I feel both at the same time? Patricia smiled sadly. Welcome to being human, baby. We almost never feel just one thing. Jason nodded slowly. Mama, can I ask you something? Always. Do you still love him, the way you did before? Patricia's breath caught. I do not know. I loved someone 6 years ago who does not exist anymore. We have both changed so much. I do not know if what I felt then has anything to do with who we are now. But you might love him again. I might. Or I might not. Right now, I am focused on whether he can be a good father. Everything else is secondary. Jason seemed satisfied with this answer. That is smart. You should make him prove it first. When did you get so wise? I have been paying attention. You taught me that. Patricia pulled him into a hug. Her son who had grown up too fast. Her son who had learned to protect himself before he learned to trust. Whatever happens with James, she said into his hair. You and me and Jasmine. We are a team. That does not change. I know, Mama. That is why I am not scared. But Patricia was scared. She was terrified. Because the more James showed up, the more she remembered why she had fallen for him in the first place. The more he proved himself, the more her carefully constructed walls threatened to crumble. And she knew better than anyone what happened when walls came down. Everything you had protected got exposed. The first 3 months passed like this. Saturday visits, occasional video calls, James learning the rhythms of his children's lives from the outside, looking in. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Tuesday. Patricia was at work at Patel Industries, cleaning the executive floor like she had done countless times before. The twins were with Elena, who had recovered from her illness and resumed her babysitting duties. Patricia had just finished James's office. She had gotten used to being in his space now. The photos of the twins had multiplied. There was one of all 3 of them at the aquarium, one of Jasmine showing him her dragon collection, one of Jason explaining something with his hands, while James listened intently. She was walking toward the elevator when she heard voices. Coming from the conference room, Patricia froze. James never worked this late anymore. He had restructured his schedule to be available for the children. Meetings ended by 5. Calls were taken during business hours. The workaholic billionaire had become something almost resembling a normal person. But these were not work voices. These were media voices. We have confirmed sources saying you have a secret family. A woman's voice, sharp and professional. Twin children you have been hiding from the public. Our story runs tomorrow morning with or without your comment. Patricia pressed herself against the wall, her heart pounding. I am not hiding anything. James's voice was controlled but tense. I recently discovered I have children from a previous relationship. I am in the process of building a relationship with them. That is not a scandal. That is a personal matter. The public has a right to know that one of the country's most eligible billionaires has been lying about his family status. I have not lied about anything. I did not know they existed until 3 months ago. Convenient. True. Patricia heard footsteps. Movement. We have photos. The woman again. You at the park. The children. Their mother in a cleaning uniform. This is quite a story, Mr. Patel. Billionaire discovers his secret children are being raised by the woman who cleans his office. The irony is almost too perfect. Patricia felt sick. Their mother, James said slowly, is a former PhD researcher who fell on hard times after her company collapsed. She's one of the most remarkable people I have ever known. And if you print anything that disrespects her or sensationalizes her circumstances, I will use every resource at my disposal to make your life extremely difficult. Is that a threat? It is a promise. Those children are mine. Their mother is under my protection, and I will not allow tabloid journalism to harm any of them. The public has a right. The public has no rights to my children's lives. They are 5 years old. They did not choose to be born to a wealthy father. They do not deserve to have their photos splashed across gossip sites so you can generate clicks. Silence. Then the woman spoke again. We are running the story, Mr. Patel. Tomorrow morning. You have until midnight to provide a statement. Otherwise, we will print what we have. Footsteps. The elevator ding. Patricia pressed further into the shadows, but the journalists did not see her. They were too busy discussing angles and headlines as they walked past. When they were gone, Patricia stepped into the conference room. James was standing by the window. His reflection in the glass looked defeated. You heard, he said without turning around. Yes, I am sorry. I thought we had more time. I thought I could control. You thought you could control everything. Patricia's voice was flat. That is always what you think. James turned. I will fix this. I have lawyers, publicists, people who specialize in managing stories like this. Stories like this, Patricia repeated. My life is not a story, James. My children are not a story. I know. I did not mean. What did you mean? That you will throw money at the problem until it goes away? That your billions will somehow make the internet forget that the mother of your children scrubs toilets for a living? James crossed the room. I am going to protect you. All of you. Whatever it takes. Protect me. Patricia laughed bitterly. I've been protecting myself for 6 years. I do not need you to swoop in and... She stopped. Because she could see his face now. Really see it. He was scared. Not for himself. Not for his reputation. For her. For the children. What exactly did they say? Patricia asked slowly. About me. About the twins. James hesitated. Tell me. They have photos of the children. From the park. From the museum. They have been following us. They know where you live. They know where the twins go to school. Patricia felt the floor shift beneath her. They know where my children go to school. I will have security there by morning. Private detail. 24 hours. No. Patricia. No. I am not going to turn my children into prisoners because you are famous. I am not going to make them afraid of the world because their father is rich. Then what do you want me to do? The question hung between them. Patricia did not have an answer. She had spent so long being invisible, so long being no one. The idea of being seen, of being known, of having strangers form opinions about her life and her choices. It made her want to disappear. I want to go home, she said quietly. I want to hold my children. I want to pretend that tomorrow is not going to change everything. James nodded. Let me drive you. Please. It is late, and I do not need you to. I know, but I want to. Let me do this one thing. Patricia was too tired to argue. The drive to her apartment was silent. James navigated the city streets with an ease that surprised her. She had assumed he was driven everywhere, chauffeured, insulated from the ordinary mechanics of transportation, but he drove himself, competently, without GPS. You know where I live, Patricia said. I have known since the first week. I needed to know you were safe, that they were safe. Were you watching us? No. James's voice was firm. I just needed to know, in case something happened, in case you needed anything. Patricia did not know whether to be touched or disturbed. They pulled up to her building. The street light out front flickered, a testament to the neighborhood's ongoing battle with the city about infrastructure. Let me come up, James said. Please. I want to see them. They are sleeping. I just want to see them. Patricia should have said no. She should have maintained the boundaries she had so carefully constructed. But there was something in his voice, something raw and desperate. She understood that desperation. She felt it every time she looked at her children. 5 minutes, she said. They climbed the stairs to her third-floor apartment. The building was quiet. The hallway smelled like the neighbor's cooking. The carpet was worn thin in patches. James said nothing, but she could see him taking it all in. They entered the apartment. Elena was asleep on the couch, a textbook open on her chest. Patricia gently woke her, thanked her, pressed some bills into her hand despite her protests. When they were alone, Patricia led James to the children's room. She opened the door. Jason and Jasmine were curled together on the bottom bunk. They did this sometimes, when one of them had a nightmare, or when the world felt too big. Finding comfort in each other the way they had since before they were born. James stood in the doorway, not entering, just watching. Patricia saw his reflection in the window, saw the tears streaming down his face. "I missed everything," he whispered. "Their first steps, their first words, their first day of school. I missed all of it. Yes, because I was a coward. Yes, and I can never get it back." "No, you cannot." James wiped his face with his sleeve, a gesture that seemed almost human, almost like the man she remembered instead of the billionaire he had become. "But I can be here for what comes next," he said. "I can be here for scraped knees and bad dreams and first heartbreaks and everything else, if you let me." Patricia watched her children sleep, innocent, unaware that their world was about to be invaded by cameras and questions and the cruel curiosity of strangers. "Tomorrow," she said slowly, "when the story comes out, what happens? I hold a press conference. I get ahead of it. I control the narrative as much as possible." "And what is the narrative?" James was quiet for a moment. "The truth, that I was young and scared and made a terrible mistake, that their mother is extraordinary and raised them alone and deserves nothing but respect, that they are my children and I love them and I will protect them with everything I have. And then what? And then we handle whatever comes, together, if you will let me stand with you." Patricia turned to face him. "I do not know if I can trust you. I know. I do not know if I will ever be able to trust you. I know that too. Then why are you still here?" "Because you and those children are the only real things in my entire life. Because I spent 6 years building an empire that means nothing. Because when I close my eyes, I still see you in that hotel room in Mumbai, and I still hate myself for walking away." "Pretty words," Patricia said. "But I have heard your pretty words before. Then do not listen to my words. Watch what I do. Tomorrow and every day after. Watch me show up. Watch me fight for you. Watch me prove that the man who left is not the man standing here." Patricia looked at him for a long moment. "Fine, we will see." James nodded. "Can I?" He gestured toward the children. "Can I just sit with them for a moment? I will not wake them. I just want to be near them." Patricia should have said no. This was not part of the careful structure she had built. But she stepped aside. James walked into the room and sank into the chair by the window, the chair where Patricia had spent countless nights watching her children breathe, making sure they were still there, still real, still hers. He sat there for an hour, not moving, just watching, and Patricia watched him. She was still watching when the sun came up. The story broke at 6 a.m. By 7 a.m., there were vans outside Patricia's apartment building, cameras, reporters, people shouting questions at anyone who entered or left. The twins woke to chaos. "Mama, why are there people outside?" Jasmine pressed her face to the window. "Why are they yelling?" Patricia pulled her away. "Some people want to take pictures and ask questions, but we are not going to talk to them. We are going to stay inside today." "Why do they want pictures?" "Because your daddy is famous, and now they know about you." Jasmine considered this. "I do not want to be famous." "I know, baby. Neither do I." Jason had not said anything. He was sitting on his bed, arms crossed, face dark. "This is his fault," he finally said. "The famous man. He did this. He did not mean for this to happen. But it happened because of him. Because he is rich and important and people care what he does. Now they care about us too. And we did not ask for that." Patricia sat down beside her son. "You are right. We did not ask for this, and I am angry too. But what?" Jason looked at her. "You are going to defend him." "No. I am going to figure out how to keep you safe. Both of you. That is all that matters right now." Her phone buzzed. A text from James. "I am holding a press conference at 9 a.m. Security is on the way to your building. Please do not leave until they arrive. I am so sorry. I will fix this." Patricia stared at the message. Fix this. As if it could be fixed. As if words at a press conference could undo the fact that her children's faces were currently trending on social media. As if security guards could erase the violation of having her life exposed without her consent. The security team arrived at 8:30. 2 men in suits who looked like they could stop bullets with their facial expressions. They introduced themselves, explained the protocols. assured her that the situation was under control. Nothing felt under control. At 9 a.m., Patricia turned on the television. James stood behind a podium, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions. He looked calm, composed. Every inch the billionaire CEO, who had faced boardrooms and hostile takeovers and challenges that would break ordinary men. But Patricia could see his hands, the way his fingers gripped the edge of the podium, the slight tremor that no one else would notice. He was terrified. "Good morning." His voice filled her living room. "I'm here to address the stories that have been circulating about my personal life." He paused. The cameras clicked furiously. 6 years ago, I met a woman at a conference in Mumbai. She was brilliant, passionate, the most remarkable person I had ever encountered. We spent one night together. One night that has shaped every day since. Patricia's throat tightened. I left her the next morning. I left a note that said it was a mistake. I did not leave my last name or my contact information. I was a coward. I was scared of what she made me feel. And I made a choice that I have regretted every single day for 6 years. The reporters shifted. This was not what they expected. This was not damage control. This was confession. What I did not know, what I could not have known, was that she was pregnant. She discovered she was carrying twins shortly after I disappeared. And because of my cowardice, because I did not give her a way to find me, she raised them alone. For 5 years, completely alone. He looked directly into the camera. Her name is Patricia Moreno. She has a PhD in biochemistry from Stanford. She was a lead researcher at a major pharmaceutical company before it collapsed. She fell on hard times through no fault of her own. And yes, she now works as a cleaning professional at my company. That is not a scandal. That is a woman doing whatever it takes to provide for her children. Our children. Patricia felt tears streaming down her face. 3 months ago, I discovered the truth. I discovered that I have a son and a daughter. Twins. 5 years old. They are the most incredible human beings I have ever encountered. And I have spent every moment since trying to earn the right to be their father. James straightened. What I will not do is allow the media to harm them. They are children. They did not choose to be born to a wealthy father. They did not choose to have their lives exposed. They deserve privacy and protection, and the chance to be kids without cameras following them everywhere. He leaned forward. So let me be very clear. Anyone who photographs my children without consent will be sued. Anyone who approaches them at school or at home will face criminal charges. Anyone who writes lies about their mother will hear from my legal team within the hour. I will use every resource I have to protect them. This is not negotiable. Questions erupted. Mr. Patel, are you saying you abandoned a pregnant woman? I am saying I made a terrible mistake, and I am trying to make it right. Is this a custody battle? No. Their mother has raised them brilliantly. I am honored that she is allowing me to be part of their lives. Are you in a relationship with her? James paused. My relationship with Patricia is between us. What I can tell you is that she is the strongest person I know, and I have nothing but respect and admiration for what she has accomplished. Do you love her? The room went quiet. James looked into the camera again. Patricia felt like he was looking directly at her. Some questions do not get answers at press conferences. Some questions are too important for sound bites. What I will say is that I hurt her badly, and I am trying to be worthy of her forgiveness. That is a daily process, not a headline. He stepped back from the podium. That is all I have to say. There will be no further comments on this matter. Thank you. He walked away. The reporters shouted after him. Camera flashes exploded. But he was gone. Patricia sat on her couch, twins on either side, and tried to remember how to breathe. I need to talk to you about something important before we continue. This moment, right here, this is the moment that changes everything. Not the press conference, not the media storm, not the security guards, or the cameras or the headlines. What changes everything is what comes next. The quiet moments, the daily choices, the 1,000 small acts that determine whether a grand gesture is genuine or just performance. Because here is the truth about redemption. Anyone can give a speech. Anyone can promise to do better. The difference between real change and empty words is time. Consistency. Showing up when no one is watching. That is what we are about to see. But before we go there, I need something from you. If you believe that actions matter more than words, hit that like button right now. If you are watching this alone at night, wondering whether the people who hurt you can ever truly change, leave a comment. Share your story. You are not alone in asking these questions. And if you want to see how James proves himself, if you want to know whether Patricia ever learns to trust again, subscribe to this channel. Because what happens next is not what you expect. The media storm lasted 3 weeks. 3 weeks of cameras, questions, strangers with opinions about Patricia's life choices. 3 weeks of security escorts to school, of parents at pickup whispering and pointing, of the twins asking questions Patricia did not know how to answer. "Mama, why do people care about us?" Jasmine asked one evening. "Because your daddy is famous, but we are not famous. We are just regular." "I know, baby. But when someone famous has children, people get curious." "That is stupid," Jason declared. "They should mind their own business." "I agree. Then make them stop." "I cannot make them stop. But we can control how we respond to them. We can ignore them. We can keep living our lives. Eventually, they will find someone else to be curious about. What if they do not? Then, we adapt. We figure it out. That is what we do." James was true to his word. Every single day, he hired a car to take the twins to school, so Patricia did not have to run the gauntlet of photographers. He paid for Elena to be with them full-time so Patricia could work without worrying. He sued 3 publications for printing photos of the children without consent, and won. He showed up at Patricia's apartment every evening to have dinner with the twins, cooking, cleaning, helping with homework, being present in ways that Patricia had never expected. The first week, she watched him like a hawk, waiting for him to slip up, waiting for the mask to crack, waiting for the real James to emerge. But the real James was already there. The second week, she started to relax. Just a little. Enough to leave the room while he read bedtime stories. Enough to let him take the twins to the park without her hovering nearby. The third week, she caught herself laughing at something he said. Really laughing. The kind of laughter she had not experienced in years. She stopped laughing immediately. "What is wrong?" James looked concerned. "Nothing. Nothing." But something was wrong. Something was terrifying. She was starting to feel things she had promised herself she would never feel again. The weeks turned into months. The media eventually moved on to other scandals. The security detail became less visible. Life found a new normal that included James in ways Patricia could not have imagined. He moved to Denver to be closer to them. Not into a mansion, into a house in their neighborhood. A regular house on a regular street where he would be a regular neighbor. "Why?" Patricia asked when he told her about the move. "You have an empire to run. You have buildings to own and deals to make, and I can run an empire from anywhere. What I cannot do is raise children through video calls. You are giving up your whole life. I am not giving anything up. I am choosing something better." She did not know what to say, so she said nothing. But she noticed. She noticed when he learned to braid Jasmine's hair, watching YouTube tutorials until he could do a passable French braid. She noticed when he memorized Jason's soccer schedule and never missed a game. She noticed when he showed up at school events dressed down, trying not to attract attention, just wanting to be another parent in the crowd. She noticed when he got the call about a major acquisition and declined to travel because it was Jasmine's birthday. She noticed when his board of directors questioned his priorities and he told them his priorities had changed. She noticed when he looked at her across the dinner table with an expression she was trying very hard not to recognize. 1 year passed. The twins turned 6. James threw them a birthday party in his backyard. Nothing extravagant, just their friends from school and a cake and the kind of chaotic joy that comes from children and sugar and sunshine. Patricia sat on his porch, watching. Jasmine was teaching James a dance she had learned at school. Jason was explaining the structural integrity of the bounce house to anyone who would listen. "This is good," Elena said, sitting down beside her. "This is really good. It is unexpected, but good." Patricia was quiet for a moment. "I keep waiting for it to fall apart. Maybe it will not. Things always fall apart. Sometimes." Elena looked at her. "But sometimes they come together. Sometimes the broken things get fixed." That is very philosophical for a college student. "I've been taking a psych class. We are learning about attachment theory." Patricia laughed despite herself. "What does attachment theory say about all this? That you are afraid to attach because you have been hurt, that you push people away before they can leave. That your walls are a defense mechanism developed in response to trauma. Did you practice that speech? Maybe a little. But also, it is true. And maybe it is time to consider that the wall is not protecting you anymore. Maybe it is just keeping you alone. Patricia watched James swing Jasmine around in circles while she shrieked with delight. What if I let him in, and he leaves again? What if you keep him out, and spend your whole life wondering what might have been? The question sat between them. Patricia did not have an answer, but she was starting to think about finding one. The car broke down on a Tuesday. Patricia was leaving the grocery store, twins in tow, bags in trunk, when the engine refused to turn over. She sat in the parking lot, hands on the steering wheel, and let herself have 30 seconds of despair. 30 seconds where she did not have to be strong. 30 seconds where she could admit that she was tired, so tired, of struggling, of surviving, of carrying everything alone. Then her 30 seconds were up. She pulled out her phone to call a tow truck. Jasmine grabbed it first. What are you doing? Calling Daddy. He will come. Jasmine, I can handle this. But Daddy can help. That is what daddies do. Before Patricia could stop her, Jasmine had already dialed. Daddy, Mama's car is broken, and she has the sad face, and we are stuck at the grocery store. Can you come? Patricia could hear James's voice through the speaker. Immediately alert, already moving. I am on my way. Tell your mama, I will be there in 15 minutes. He was there in 12. His SUV pulled up beside her broken-down sedan. He got out, assessed the situation, arranged for a tow truck with a single phone call. Then he helped transfer the grocery bags to his car, buckled the twins into car seats that Patricia now noticed had been there all along. You have car seats, she said. I have had them for a year. Why? Because they are my children. Because I wanted to be ready. Because I hoped there would be moments exactly like this. Patricia stared at him. You hoped my car would break down. I hoped you would let me help. This was just the opportunity. She did not know whether to laugh or cry. She settled for climbing into the passenger seat and letting him drive her home. That night, after the children were asleep, Patricia found James in her kitchen, washing the dishes she had not gotten to, cleaning up the mess from dinner. You do not have to do that. I know. Then why are you doing it? Because I want to. Because you have done everything alone for 6 years. Because I am here now and I want to carry some of the weight. Patricia leaned against the counter. Can I ask you something? Anything. Why are you really here? Not for the children. For this. The dishes. The grocery runs. The broken car. Why? James turned off the water, dried his hands, faced her. Because the first love you. The words hung in the air. You do not know me, Patricia said. Not really. Not the person I became after you left. I know that you sacrifice everything for them. I know that you work harder than anyone I have ever met. I know that you are fierce and loyal and terrified of being hurt again. I know that you deserve so much more than survival. James stepped closer. I know that I loved you in Mumbai, and I was too much of a coward to admit it. I know that I have spent 6 years regretting that night, and I know that being near you again has shown me exactly what I gave up. Patricia, I am not asking for anything. I am not expecting anything. I just needed you to know, whatever happens next, whatever you decide, I love you. I have always loved you. I just did not know how to say it until I almost lost you again. Patricia felt her walls crack, crumble, fall. I do not know how to do this, she whispered. I do not know how to trust again. You do not have to know. We can figure it out together. Slowly, carefully, at whatever pace you need. What if I cannot? Then I will wait, however long it takes. Patricia looked at this man, this billionaire who washed her dishes, this father who had learned to braid hair, this person who had broken her heart and was now trying so hard to put it back together. I am scared, she admitted. I am too. What are you scared of? That I will mess this up, that I will prove I have not really changed, that you will finally let me in and I will find some way to disappoint you. At least we are scared of the same things. Does that help? A little. She reached out, touched his face, the way she had wanted to for months. I want to try. What? This. Us. Whatever this becomes, I want to try. James covered her hand with his. I will not let you down. I promise. Do not promise. Just show me, every day, for the rest of my life." He kissed her, and for the first time in 6 years, Patricia stopped surviving. She started living. Before I tell you how this story ends, I need one more moment with you. We have traveled so far together, from a hotel room in Mumbai to a conference room in New York, from a broken car in a grocery store parking lot to a kitchen where two people finally stopped pretending. This is a story about second chances. But more than that, it is a story about the work that second chances require. James did not just say he was sorry. He proved it. Every single day. Through actions, not words. Through consistency, not grand gestures. Through showing up when it was hard and staying when it would have been easier to leave. And Patricia. Patricia learned that walls can protect you, but they can also imprison you. That trust, once broken, can be rebuilt. That the person who hurt you might also be the person who heals you, if they are willing to do the work. If this story has moved you, I need you to do something right now. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that change is possible. That redemption is real. That love, even broken love, can find its way back. Subscribe to Mr. Dawson Stories because this is what we do here. We tell the truth about human beings, the messy, complicated, beautiful truth, and leave a comment telling me your own story. I read every single one, and sometimes your stories become the inspiration for the next video. Now, let me tell you about the wedding. It was small, not because James could not afford something extravagant. He could have rented out entire countries if he wanted to. It was small because that is what Patricia wanted, what they both wanted. Something real, something intimate, something that reflected who they had become, not who the world thought they should be. The ceremony was in James's backyard, the same backyard where the twins had their 6th birthday party, the same backyard where Jasmine had taught him to dance and Jason had explained structural engineering to bemused parents. 30 guests, family, friends, the people who had been there through everything. Elena was maid of honor. She cried through the entire ceremony. The twins were ring bearers, or, more accurately, Jasmine was the ring bearer and Jason was the ring security consultant, which he had insisted on after researching wedding traditions online. Patricia wore white, simple, elegant, nothing like what a billionaire's bride was supposed to wear. She had never looked more beautiful. James wore a regular suit, not custom, not designer, something he could have bought at any department store. He had never looked more happy. The vows were private, whispered between them so only they could hear. Promises that had already been proven. Commitments that had already been tested, but the part that everyone remembered happened after. When Jason stood up to give a toast. "I did not want to like him," the 7-year-old said, holding a glass of apple juice like it was champagne. "When he first showed up, I thought he was going to leave. I thought he was going to hurt Mama and hurt Jasmine and hurt me. So I decided not to trust him." The guests were silent, but he kept showing up, even when I was mean, even when I tested him. Even when I tried to make him prove that he was not worth trusting. He just kept showing up. Jason looked at James. That is what daddies do, I guess. They show up, even when it is hard, even when someone is trying to push them away. They stay. He raised his glass. "So, welcome to the family." Finally, there was not a dry eye in the garden. James stood up, crossed to his son, and hugged him the way fathers hug their children when they finally understand what they have been given. "Thank you," James said. "Thank you for giving me a chance." "You earned it," Jason replied. "That is different than being given it. You are too smart for your own good." "I know. I get it from Mama." Patricia laughed through her tears. This was her family. These people. This moment. This life she never could have imagined when she was cleaning floors at midnight and wondering how she was going to pay the electricity bill. Jasmine tugged on her dress. "Mama, now we are all together, like in my dream." Patricia crouched down. "Yes, baby. Now we are all together. I told you he would find us. I told you he was looking. You did. You were right. I am always right about the important things." Patricia hugged her daughter. Her dreamer. Her believer. "Yes," she said. "You are." The reception was dinner around a long table. Stories and laughter and the kind of joy that comes from hard-won happiness. James made a speech. "6 years ago, I made the worst decision of my life. I walked away from the only person who ever made me want to be better. I left a note that called her a mistake. And then I spent 6 years pretending I was successful while being completely alone. He looked at Patricia. I do not deserve this. Any of this. I know that. But I promise, every day for the rest of my life, I will try to be worthy of it. Worthy of you. Worthy of them. Worthy of the family I almost lost before I even knew I had it. He raised his glass. To Patricia, the strongest person I know, the best mother these children could have, and the love of my life, even when I was too stupid to realize it. To Patricia, the guests echoed. Patricia stood up. I thought I knew what love was before I met James. I thought I knew what heartbreak was after he left. But I had no idea. She looked at her children, her husband, her life. Love is not a feeling. It is a choice. A choice you make every day when you show up even though it is hard. When you stay even though it would be easier to leave. When you fight for what matters instead of running from what scares you. She looked at James. You broke my heart. And then you put it back together, piece by piece, day by day, until I could not remember anymore why I was so afraid to let you in. She raised her glass. To second chances, to showing up, to choosing each other, not once, but every single day. To second chances, the guests echoed. And somewhere in the garden, a little girl in a purple dress looked up at the sky and smiled, because she had always known, even when no one else believed her, that this was how the story would end. 3 years later, Patricia Moreno Patel stood in front of a classroom at a community college, preparing to deliver a guest lecture on biochemistry, not as a cleaning lady, not as a billionaire's wife, as Dr. Patricia Moreno Patel, Ph.D. researcher, professor. James had offered to fund her return to science. She had refused. She had gotten a grant on her own merit, a position at a local university, a chance to do the work she had always loved. He had been frustrated, then proud, then exactly what she needed him to be, supportive without being controlling, present without being overwhelming. The twins were 8 now. Jason was building elaborate model bridges in his room and talking about engineering school. Jasmine was writing stories about purple dragons who saved kingdoms and teaching her father new dances every week. They had added a sister, Maya, born 2 years ago, a tiny human who looked exactly like Patricia and had James's stubbornness. Life was full, complicated, beautiful, not perfect. Nothing was ever perfect, but real, solid, earned. Patricia looked at her notes, then set them aside. The students waited. I want to tell you a story, she began, about a woman who had everything figured out, and then lost it all, and then built something better from the rubble. The students leaned forward. It is not a story about science, not really. It is a story about survival, about choosing to keep going when giving up seems easier, about believing that the worst chapter does not have to be the last chapter. She thought about cleaning floors at midnight, about counting pennies for groceries, about holding 2 premature babies and promising them the world when she had nothing. She thought about a man who left, and then came back, and then proved, day after day, that people can change. The story does not have a traditional happy ending, Patricia continued, because it is not over. It keeps going. Every day brings new challenges and new choices. But what I have learned is that the ending is less important than the direction. Are you moving towards something better? Are you choosing growth over comfort? Are you showing up for the people who matter? She smiled. That is what I want you to take from today, not formulas or theories or facts you will forget by next semester. But this, the direction matters. The daily choices matter. And it is never too late to change yours. The students applauded. Patricia gathered her things and walked out into the sunshine. James was waiting in the parking lot, Maya asleep in her car seat, the twins arguing about something in the back seat. How did it go? James asked. Good. I think I helped someone. You always do. She kissed him. The same man she had kissed in a hotel room in Mumbai. The same man she had found again in a conference room in New York. The same man who washed dishes in her kitchen and learned to braid hair and chose his children over billion-dollar deals. Different, but the same. Changed, but familiar. Let us go home, Patricia said. And they did. This is the end of the story. But it is not really an ending. Because Jasmine was right. Stories like this do not end. They continue. They grow. They face new challenges and discover new joys. What matters is not the destination, it is the direction. The daily choice to show up, to keep going, to believe that the next chapter might be better than the last. Patricia Moreno started as a cleaning lady bringing her twins to work because she had no other choice. She ended as a professor, a wife, a mother of 3, and a woman who had learned that survival was just the beginning. James Patel started as a coward who ran from love. He ended as a father who stays, a husband who shows up, a man who earned his redemption through thousands of small, consistent choices. And the twins, Jason and Jasmine. They started as children who did not know their father. They ended as children who learned that family is not about blood. It is about presence, about commitment, about choosing each other over and over again. If you have stayed with me through this entire story, you are not just a viewer. You are part of this community, part of a group of people who believe that stories matter, that redemption is possible, that the people who hurt us can become the people who heal us if they are willing to do the work. So here is what I need from you. Hit that subscribe button right now. Join this community of people who believe in second chances and earned redemption and the messy, beautiful work of becoming better. Leave a comment telling me what this story meant to you. Did it remind you of someone? Did it make you think about your own second chances? I read every comment. Your stories matter to me. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that it is never too late, that change is possible, that the worst chapter does not have to be the last. And remember this, your story is not over. The best chapters might still be ahead, but you have to keep turning the pages to find out. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for believing in Patricia and James and 2 little twins who helped their parents find their way back to each other. This is Mr. Dawson's Stories, and I will see you in the next one.